Hello and welcome to a very special edition of the Kama Sutra Show, Establish the Show, Thanksgiving edition. My name is Adam Levitan, and today I will be going position by position through Thursday's three-game Thanksgiving slate with the two young men you know and love, Andrew Wiggins. Happy Thanksgiving. How's it going?
Going well. Gonna get the show in. I'm gonna go play some disc golf. Living the dream, baby.
Show and disc golf. Yes, after I am done with this show, I'm going to put in my order of some shrimp lo mein, maybe some kung pao chicken to have tomorrow during Thanksgiving. Silva, happy Thanksgiving. How's it going?
Must be nice. I'll be writing up games for the next three days in a row. But I do love a great United States of America holiday like Thanksgiving. They don't celebrate Thanksgiving in Europe, do they?
Certainly not in Canada.
Certainly not.
Not.
By the way, if anybody listened to Team by Team and Evan suggested eliminating all of Europe, producer Luke, who lives in London, took great offense to Evan's suggestion to get rid of all of Europe. Hopefully, you all caught
spare Luke.
Team. We'll spare Luke. All right, this is a interesting slate where there are a lot of expensive wide receivers that I think are good plays. There's expensive running backs that are good plays. But to me, the story of this slate versus other Thanksgiving slates is all three games are good. Two of them are over 50 point total. The other one's up around 48. And I can make a case for probably 6 different quarterbacks on this slate that I think are pretty good plays. And so ownership is going to be, I think, spread a bit flatter than other 3-game slates we've had, other Thanksgiving slates that we've had. One thing on DraftKings is you're going to see a lot of 2 tight end builds from people. If you want to play Jahmyr Gibbs, if you want to play Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra, you're going to end up with a lot of 2 tight end stuff. So just right off the bat, Wiggins, I think it's somewhat contrarian to not play 2 tight ends. But any other general thoughts on this 3-game slate, Wiggins?
Yeah, I mean, there's some good plays at the top end of the ranges. So the 2 tight end would be to get those guys in. I think that is going to be very, very popular. I know that is. So yeah, if you go with that more balanced build, that's a good way to get unique.
For sure. All right. Let's start at the quarterback position where, Evan, our highest projection at the quarterback position is Patrick Mahomes. Now, if you would have told me, I don't know, before the season that Lamar Jackson home against the Bengals, not on the injury report, would be projecting worse than Mahomes, I would have said that's just wrong, because Lamar Jackson historically has an outrageously fantasy-friendly game. What we've seen lately from Lamar is hamstring, knee, ankle, foot, all these issues that seem to have sapped his efficiency and maybe some of his running explosiveness. Now, I don't know, because they keep saying, oh, he's fine. He's not on the injury report. He's practicing full. The eye test has not been great, I guess, on Lamar. Man, home against the Bengals. And listen, I said the same thing last week. Home against the Jets was an awesome spot for Lamar also. They had 3 points in the first half. Or it was 0 points in the first half, I believe. So, Evan, what do you think is going on with Lamar right now? And do you agree with our projection here? We have Mahomes over Lamar.
Well, in addition to the issues that you mentioned, where it's just been a lack of running and a different injury seemingly every week, he is on the injury report this week with a toe injury, although he was full practice yesterday and possibly today when the final injury report comes out. It's not out yet, right?
Correct. Not yet.
No. He might be removed from it altogether. But either way, like, he's been on the injury report with, hamstring, knee, ankle, toe recently. But in addition to that, like, the Ravens defense playing at an elite level again, I think has deterred the Ravens offense from getting pushed. Like, the Ravens defense, since they got relatively healthy, and they're a little bit banged up, although it looks like Kyle Hamilton is going to play, and he's a huge difference maker for them. The Ravens have allowed 19 points or fewer in 6 straight games. On the other side, I mean, you got issues for, is Joe Burrow going to be able to respond? He has a history of starting slow seasons. Is he going to be able to shake off the rust immediately? He doesn't have T. Higgins, and he's going up against a defense that, again, has been playing at an elite level for a month and a half. So is Lamar Jackson going to be pushed here? that may determine a lot.
Yeah. And yeah, I think no T. Higgins certainly matters. Joe Burrow going to Baltimore is a difficult matchup, but I'm much more confident that Joe Burrow can win in this matchup than I am in Joe Flacco's ability to win in this matchup. So I think Lamar is probably one of my favorite tournament quarterbacks, especially if this gets wider in small fields. In other words, in cash, Wiggins, I think everybody's going to show up with Mahomes on FanDuel for sure, probably on DraftKings as well. And so if everybody's going to show up with Mahomes in cash, sometimes I think in small field stuff, it can get outsized the gap between Mahomes and the second quarterback. And I would consider the second quarterback to be Lamar. So it doesn't feel great given the way Lamar has been playing. And I agree with everything Evan said about Cincinnati pushing them. But on a 3-game slate, if you give me Lamar Jackson home against the Bengals, like I'm playing that in tournaments. So yeah, Wiggins, thoughts on the top of quarterback?
Yeah, it's like you almost seem like you're offended at the concept that he's injured, but guess what? He is. Like,
well, it pisses me off. It pisses me off when guys are injured and they don't put him on the injury report. Oh,
Okay.
He's full practice. Oh,
All
he's
right.
not listed. If he's hurt, man, let's just list him with something, and
Yeah.
that's supposed to be the rule. So yes, I am pissed off.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm glad we got to the bottom of that. The interesting thing about this slate is it's 3 good games, 3 high totals, but honestly, I think you can poke pretty decent holes in all of them. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if 2 or even all 3 of the games come in under, and could be a little bit of slug. So Patrick Mahomes definitely is going to be the most owned. I think he might run away with the ownership on FanDuel. I'll pull up FanDuel here. I think, yeah, I mean, we have it pretty close between him and Lamar, but when you're simming stuff on FanDuel, it's just really easy to stack him. Like, you're seeing Worthy as like borderline cash play on both sites, but more so on FanDuel. Kelsey is a cash play on FanDuel. Rice is right there. So Mahomes is just coming up really, really good in the Sims. So I could see his ownership running away a little bit on FanDuel. I think maybe less so on DraftKings. I think like the way we have it is pretty good. Where like it's not going to go crazy in the direction of anyone, but Mahomes is going to be at the top. And then of course you can make an argument for Lamar. I mean, Cincinnati defense is just so bad. Like, if there was ever a get right spot, this is it. He's easy to stack. What's the deal with Bateman? We don't know yet on him.
I think Bateman's going to end up playing. Yes.
Okay, so you have some cheap stack options there with Lamar. You get leverage off Derrick Henry. That's going to be mega chalk. It makes sense, but I also don't think he's healthy. So it's a give and take.
That's totally fair. And like I said, I think Mahomes is the play in cash here on both sites. One thing that I will say, Evan, how big do you think this Trey Smith injury is for the Chiefs? I think from the run game, it matters. From the pass game, though, I'm not sure how much it matters. What do you think about the Trey Smith injury, and any thoughts on Mahomes here at Dallas?
It is massive. It is massive. Trey Smith is like one of the best guards in the league, and the downgrade from him to Mike Caliendo, no relation to Frank. Frank might be better at blocking, actually. Mike Caliendo is a huge liability, and this is going up against a Cowboys interior defensive line that is smoking on fire right now.
Yeah.
Since they added Kenny Clark before the season, Quinnen Williams is the best 3-technique defensive tackle in the league. That's the position that makes a Matt Eberflus defense go. They've also got Osa Odigizua on the interior. They've gotten healthy at a bunch of different key spots, like Demario Overshawn and Ravel, this kid that they drafted, this cornerback that they drafted out of East Carolina. He's been playing well. Like, Deron Bland was hurt early in the year. Like, their defense is not the pushover that it was early in the season. And the Chiefs missing Trey Smith, I think, is massive, because that's where the Cowboys defense is by far at its strength.
Yeah.
Also, Patrick Mahomes has not been very good in fantasy for a while. I know he's had some big passing games, and they've had some nice ones last week. I mean, it's not all his fault that he didn't have a huge fantasy game. Like, he had that was an unbelievable comeback win, much needed, but he's only been the quarterback 23 in per game fantasy scoring over the last month, and is now facing, albeit in a small sample size. I mean, it's been 2 games since the Cowboys acquired Quinnen Williams, what seems to me to be like a legit defense now that was not a legit defense, obviously, for the first 8-9 games of the season.
Yeah, I think Mahomes is an interesting fade on FanDuel, because as Wiggins said, a lot of these teams on FanDuel that are in the optimals are going to have Kelsey, Worthy, and Mahomes. And so I think that stack, and throw Rice in there, that stack is going to be very owned there on FanDuel. Before we move on, it is our one sale a year. We almost never run a sale. We only do one a year. It is the Black Friday sale. Our NFL in-season product, and that is what the sale is on, runs through the Super Bowl. You can try it out for a month for just $30 or rest of season for $125. Head to the link there, establishtherun.com/Black Friday. That's establishtherun.com/Black Friday to access our in-season product sale. That does give you access to all of our DFS projections, Silva's matchups, premium shows, tons more. Also, for my DFS brothers out there, if you want to try out the optimizer or the sims at the solver, head to establishtherun.com, go to the NFL tab. In tools and research, you'll see a link there. When you go to check out, use Solver20 for 20% off if you are a new customer at the solver, any NBA or NFL product.
Pulled up the solver real quick here. You can just see if I run the top 150 lineups on FanDuel, Patrick Mahomes is coming in 100% of them. And then you're going to see Worthy's and 55% still running right now. And then Kelsey, 40%. So, and they're all in the top lineups here. Like our optimal has the double stack with Worthy and Kelsey. So you're just going to see a ton of that on FanDuel.
Yep. Agreed. And yeah, to Evan's point, like Mahomes I think is a great play here, but you can certainly poke some holes in it. And that's going to be the most popular thing in tournaments. I like getting away from it on FanDuel now. And Lamar is my favorite one to get away from it from. These other four quarterbacks, though, Evan, are all in play. Do you have a favorite out of these other four? Burrow, Goff, Love, Dak. In projection, we have Dak pretty clearly as the best of that group. Evan, what do you think your favorite of those remaining four quarterbacks?
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, it's a really fun slate because all these guys are in play, I think, but it's tough to single out. I think I would go with Dak Prescott. I think that the Cowboys offense is a well-oiled machine. You get to play Dak Prescott at home, indoors. This is the highest total game on the slate. I generally consider the Cowboys offense to be matchup proof. There is another concern in this game, though, and that is the loss of Tyler Guyton for the Cowboys, right guard, first round, right guard, right? They have so many Tylers. I'm mixing them up. But Chris Jones is obviously a force for Kansas City. But I mean, Dak Prescott, I think that he's matchup proof. When you got George Pickens, who's off the injury report, you got CeeDee Lamb, who I think is the best wide receiver, certainly on a salary basis. The best wide receiver play on the slate. You got Jake Ferguson, who catches touchdowns, weekly. You got, going up against a Chiefs defense that, again, Chris Jones is going to have a massive advantage on the interior and just shut down Jonathan Taylor going up against Jonathan. Like, I think that the Cowboys are going to have to throw the ball with volume, and I think that they're going to be able to execute against KC.
Yeah, and Pickens off the injury report here is obviously huge. We'll get to the CeeDee Lamb versus Pickens debate when we get to wide receiver. But yeah, I would consider Dak pretty clearly number 3 there. I actually think that my favorite outside of those 3 is Jared Goff. Now, since Dan Campbell took over, they have been way more throw heavy. Jahmyr Gibbs has been playing more. They're on the turf here. And I know Goff gives you no rushing, but man, he can have some really efficient games, and he is pretty cheap here at 5,800. And yeah, him, Love, Burrow, we all have roughly the same ownership percentage. We do have Goff down lower. I think he stacks well with Jameson Williams, who I really like, and Amon-Ra and Gibbs. And so when you get it really concentrated, you remove Sam Laporta, it starts to get really concentrated. When Goff goes off, as we saw last week, it can get really tight to 2 guys. You needed Amon-Ra and Gibbs to be in the winner last week. And so I like the concentration there as well. So Goff would be my favorite besides Dak there of the secondary guys. Wiggins, any more thoughts at the bottom of quarterback?
Yeah, it's just, the Detroit guys are all going to be super chalky, including Jameson Williams. So
it's a 3-game slate. Everybody's chalky.
Yeah, but Amon-Ra and Gibbs are going to be, 2 of the top 6 or 8 highest owned guys, I think. So it's are you gaining that much with Goff? I don't know. That's more of a question for the Sims and the ETM guys. Sadly, they've already done the show, so we can't toss it to them. But it's like at 11%. How bad can it be? And you're saving a little bit of money. So I do like him. Let me throw the question at you guys. Like, what do you think? What game do you think is most likely to be a slog here? Let's attack it from that angle.
Most likely to like underwhelm.
First one.
Which is the first one? I haven't looked at the
first
times
one's
yet.
Detroit.
Lions Packers.
Packers.
By the way, the game this year, it's usually at noon. Or
is it not?
Noon Eastern, and this year it's at 1 Eastern, which actually I appreciate that.
Huh. Well, that means you have to. It's like usually I can justify cracking a beer, when that first game starts, but I have to wait.
Well, it's only an hour later, but I think it's kind of nice because that it was too early. Can I clarify something I was saying earlier? The Cowboys have 3 starting offensive linemen with the first name of Tyler.
Yeah.
The guy who's going to be out is Tyler Booker, their first-round right guard, which is a position at which Chris Jones is going to face off with the backup. I don't know who it's going to be for the Cowboys in that game, but I mean that's a significant loss. There's a significant advantage for the Cowboys with Quentin Williams going up against Trey Smithless Chiefs, and also on the other side, there are big interior offensive line injuries on both sides.
Yep. So yeah, just to answer Wiggins' question, I guess I would say Detroit, Green Bay, but I don't think that Cincy, Baltimore is like that much better. Like we just saw Baltimore and the Jets was 7-3 at halftime. Like
the other thing I'd say about Burrow is he's like known to come out and be rusty, right? He always has the slow starts to the year. You look at his game log. I forget what point did he get hurt in the game he left? It was around halftime.
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. But the first game, he only scored 7 or 8 DraftKings points. And the second game, he was around the same amount. Granted, he had more time left in the game. But like they always start slow. And now he hasn't played in 8 weeks or whatever. More than that, 10 weeks. And and the team total is not that good. And they're on the road. And like we've talked about how the Ravens defense is playing a lot better. No T. Higgins. So like you can poke a million holes in Burrow.
Sure.
The ownership's not there. So like I think if I had to pick amongst all these guys for tournaments, I think it's Burrow that I like the best just because the ownership and we know what he's capable of, but he's certainly not a cash consideration, and I'm worried about the spot.
Yep. The only one we didn't talk about extensively yet, Evan, is Jordan Love. Most outcomes in Jordan Love this season have been he drops back 20 times. He drops back 25 times. We've seen a couple big spike weeks from him. Do you think this could be a spike week for Jordan Love, or thoughts on him and Goff?
I mean, he has not been good in fantasy in a long time himself, Jordan Love. No Tucker Kraft, no Elton Jenkins. The Lions got back DJ Reed, their number 2 cornerback, last week, and they should get back Terry and Arnold, their number 1 cornerback, this week. Yeah, so people are saying that Jordan Love might be playing hurt.
Yeah. Same injury as Baker, the non-throwing arm shoulder sprain for Jordan Love. Yes.
Over the last month, Jordan Love is the quarterback 30 in fantasy scoring per game. So, it's just I don't know that's really on the table for Jordan Love to have a particularly high scoring game. He really isn't a high scoring fantasy quarterback, period.
Yeah. I mean, my lean right now is Mahomes and cash, Lamar, Goff, and maybe Dak in tournaments for me. Sounds like Wiggins is on Burrow, which I think is interesting there as well.
I thought Love, I would have bet a lot of money that he'd be simming really well here, and he's not. So that gives me some serious pause on him. We've seen Dobbs has been simming really well, and he's simming fine this week. But like I just thought Love doubles would look really good to the computer, and for whatever reason they don't. So
yeah.
I do think that Love, like, if I had to pick the lowest owned of any of these guys, I think I'd pretty safely say Love.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the running back position, where clearly our highest projected running back on this slate is Jahmyr Gibbs. As I said, they have been going more throw heavy since Dan Campbell has taken over play calling. They've also played Jahmyr Gibbs more. Each of Jahmyr Gibbs' 2 highest snap rates are in the last 2 weeks. And I suspect in that Commanders game 3 weeks ago, Gibbs' snap rate would have been really high also, but it was such a blowout. Montgomery ended up getting a bunch of snaps. So I feel good about Gibbs here. He is expensive and harder to fit on DraftKings. you can fit him much easier on FanDuel, because on FanDuel you get this 4K Mike Gesicki price, which is, for people that don't play on FanDuel, that opens up a ton there. There's not as much that opens stuff up on DraftKings. So it is harder to fit Gibbs on DraftKings. I still think people are going to jam him in. This is not the matchup Jahmyr Gibbs had last week, Evan. This is not the Giants, right? The Packers can really defend. They are second in the NFL in yards per play allowed. Giants are one of the worst in the NFL in almost every defensive category. So it's not the same, but Jahmyr Gibbs is just such an outrageous talent. I want to play him here. Evan, any thoughts on the backfield split here between Gibbs and Montgomery, and any other Lions running back thoughts?
I just think that this is like a super competitive game, a super important game. The Lions are out of the playoffs if the season ends today. This is a division game. Jahmyr Gibbs, the best player on the team. He's maybe the best player. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, maybe the best player on the entire Thanksgiving slate. I mean, he might be the best running back in the league. And so to take work off his plate, I mean, we've seen what Dan Campbell did the last 2 weeks, 73% and 74% of the snaps. Like, you feed your best player in times of crisis, and the Lions need this win badly. The matchup is difficult. And the Lions' interior offensive line has been problematic. It looks like Graham Glasnow, the starting center for the Lions, may not play in this game. But you want to get Jahmyr Gibbs on the edges anyway. You want to throw him the ball in the passing game, which Dan Campbell has been doing since Dan Campbell took over as the Lions play caller. 8 targets per game for Jahmyr Gibbs. And when these teams played it was week 1, Jahmyr Gibbs caught 1 million passes. Now, he didn't go for a lot of yards, but I mean, I think that this is a game where you feature Jahmyr Gibbs, and it's going to be close, and they're not going to really even have time to give the ball to David Montgomery.
Yeah, and so obviously if they get a big lead, the Lions will see more Montgomery. If they fall behind, we'll see more Gibbs. But I think on balance, they're starting to lean more towards Gibbs here. Again, Wiggins, though, Gibbs is not in our optimals, really any of them here on DraftKings at 8,800. He is in most of our optimals on FanDuel at his price there. What do you think about handling Gibbs on Montgomery on this slate, both of them?
Yeah. I think it's worth noting too that pretty much all these teams, like, this is effectively playoff games for them, particularly like the teams that have the worst record in these matchups, like, really need to win, but all the teams need to win these games. So they're going to take them very seriously. And in those types of situations, like, I would think they would lean more into Gibbs. Now, we built this into the projections, but like, my lean is to like Gibbs more than his projection. Like, he's just been so good. And he's very difficult to get on DraftKings. I think he's certainly a priority on FanDuel. I'm just going to say I do not like this slate for cash on DraftKings. I think it's fine on FanDuel. When you have these 3-game slates, it's already going to be tight. And if you're looking at the lineups and it's not something that aligns with the plays you like, just sit the cash slate out. And that's what I'm seeing on DraftKings, because I don't think you can get up to Gibbs in cash. Yeah. And that scares the crap out of me. So I will be trying to get him in tournaments, me and everybody else. Like, I'd probably take the over on 50% in small field, don't you think? I mean, would it shock you if he's like 60 or higher?
Yeah, it's tough to fit. I mean, if you play Gibbs, you're going to end up with 2 tight end lineups, which we just talked about. You can get contrarian by not playing those. So, yeah. Yeah,
and by the way, you're looking at 2 tight end even on FanDuel, which is very unique. Usually it's 3 running back and cash over there. That is not the case this week. Running back is kind of weak below Henry and Gibbs, at least with the way guys are priced. And Gesicki's a lock at 4K. And then I think Kelsey at 6K compares very favorably to the other guys in that price range. So you're probably playing 2 tight ends, FanDuel cash, very unusual. Definitely playing 2 tight ends, DraftKings cash if you're playing that.
For sure. I think one thing that you can play on FanDuel if you did not want to play 2 tight ends is Chase Brown. However, we are building in the Pirine role probably more than other people are. And we talked about this, God, we probably spent an hour yesterday working on Chase Brown versus Samaje Pirine stuff. I think the general public underestimates how much an impact Samaje Pirine's absence has on Chase Brown's role. Now, Chase Brown has been so good for the last 4 to 6 weeks that I do think Chase Brown has earned a wider separation than we saw right before Pirine's injury. So, Evan, how do you think this plays out between Chase Brown and Samaje Perine? Samaje Perine was full practice. Official report is not out yet, but we're expecting Samaje Perine to play and be fine. Again, full practice for him.
With Pirine out the last 3 weeks, Chase Brown, 21.3 touches a game, 89% playing time. in the previous 3 games where Samaje Perine did play, Chase Brown 13 touches per game, 58% of the snaps. It's a huge, huge difference. I mean, you're almost slicing Chase Brown in half in that, total of 6 game sample.
Yeah.
And the Bengals are projected to play from behind in this game, and they're facing a Ravens defense that has been cooking.
Yeah.
So this adds up to a really, really, really difficult spot for Chase Brown, even if you think that he will get, that he's earned a little bit more because he's been playing so well, which I don't even think is the case. I think that Samaje Perine has this specific role. The Bengals consider him to be one of the best 2-minute and pass protector and, that kind of stuff, that role player. They pay him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that that's how it's going to go. This is a really I wouldn't want to play Chase Brown like even in season long, actually.
Oh God. See, yeah, I would play Chase Brown in season long.
I mean, I would play him in season long, but I wouldn't want to.
So I think the stuff that Chase Brown can take from Perine that Perine was getting before the injury was like, there was some just regular, like 2nd and 8. It was a handoff to Perine, and like, that's not the role that Perine was signed to do. And so Chase Brown, I think, will have that back. What Chase Brown will not have back, where I agree with Evan, is strict pass down stuff. 3rd and 5 plus, it's going to be Perine. 2-minute drill, it's going to be Perine. 4-minute drill, it's going to be Perine. If they get behind by 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, it's going to be Perine. But if they can stay in the game and maintain the base stuff, I think it'll still be Chase Brown. That said, I'm not excited to play Chase Brown on this slate, A, because of matchup, and B, because I don't think the public really understands how much Perine coming back matters to Chase Brown's outlook. So yeah, I don't have Chase Brown in cash, although I do think you can play him in cash on FanDuel. I do not have him in there as of now.
Are you looking at playing Samaje at all in tournaments? Certainly not in cash, but
I don't think that he's good enough. Like, Montgomery is only 800 more, and I think is a way better bet for a touchdown. So I'm sure it'll come with way more ownership on Montgomery, but I'm looking to get cheap weird at wide receiver more than running back. I know some people are going to play Perine and Keaton Mitchell and stuff, like, maybe for lottos, but I'm not like excited to do that.
Perine, I think, is a way better play than Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah. And you could throw Brashard Smith in there too as like another punt who's probably going to touch the ball like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
Javonte Williams versus Chase Brown straight up, to me, is an easy call.
Okay. You prefer Javonte?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have that reversed in projection, but very close, 0.7 apart. I don't disagree with that. And I think Javonte is an interesting secondary tournament play here also. We glossed over a core play, though. People are going to say Derrick Henry is losing his ability to break tackles. I mean, he's playing the Bengals here. It's like, I'm not going to overthink it. He's so likely to score a touchdown.
His broken tackle rate is going to skyrocket after this one game.
Yeah. And like, Derrick Henry scored 2 touchdowns last week. The Ravens have the highest team total on the slate. Not on this slate, on the entire week. The Ravens have that highest team total, and playing Derrick Henry into spots where they should have a lead and they should get a lot of opportunity to score touchdowns. That's where I want to play Derrick Henry. So yeah, I think he's a core play there on both. Will be one of the most owned players on the slate. Last spot among starters that we need to talk about is Green Bay. If you want to sort by Green Bay, Wiggins. So Josh Jacobs is expected back. It is difficult to know exactly how much Emmanuel Wilson is going to play in this game. My thought is this is a really, really big game for both teams, Green Bay and Detroit. In really big spots where Jacobs has not been hurt, they have really leaned into him hard. That said, Emmanuel Wilson has done a really good job for them lately. So we have this, 16.4, 5.3. Evan, what do you think of that split that we have right now between Jacobs and Emmanuel Wilson?
What's the split?
We have 16-5, basically. DraftKings points. 16
yeah,
points
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson has played a big role in each of the Packers' last 3 wins. He's had, in those games, obviously he had 30 last week, but in the previous 2 wins, he had 14 and 12 touches.
Yeah.
And also, Emmanuel Wilson had 100 yards rushing last week, and Josh Jacobs hasn't had 100 rushing yards in the game all year. Now, I think that Josh Jacobs is plenty good, and when he is healthy and ready to go, and I think he'll be largely healthy and ready to go in this game, he's going to be the lead back. But I think that Emmanuel Wilson has earned that, 5 carries and a target or whatever.
My understanding that Josh Jacobs was actually a game time decision last week. Like, he actually had a chance to play. And when that's the case, I usually assume, all right, it's been 4 days.
He practiced some last week.
Yeah. And I mean, it's been 4 days since then. I think Jacobs is pretty healthy. And again, in these big, tight games, if he's healthy, I think they could lean in to Josh Jacobs here. I don't think he's any type of like standout play. I would probably have it. God, it's so close between these three. I think I'd probably have it Javonte first, then Jacobs, then Chase Brown. But I don't know. Evan, do you have a take on those three? Javonte, Chase Brown, Jacobs?
I think I would go Javonte, Jacobs, Chase Brown.
Okay. Yeah. I think that's what I said also.
Javonte Williams we haven't felt him in fantasy lately because he hasn't scored any touchdowns in 3 straight games, but his usage is elite. I mean, he is a true bell cow running back. He plays 80+% of the snaps. And once he catches some positive touchdown regression, he's going to be right back, in that tier that we were considering him for a long time. I mean, we can get caught up in the recency bias really easily, but I mean, he could fall into the end zone twice and he's right back where he was.
One of the best touchdown scorers we have in the NFL is Josh Jacobs, and the guy that can actually touch the ball 25 times, and Packers are like willing/able to do that consistently. So yeah, I think it's close between those three guys for sure. Wiggins, thoughts on those three or anything else? But I do want to talk about Kansas City running back also.
I think it's kind of a donkey take, but I don't really like any of them. I'd rather not play any three of those guys. And like, I know Leone's out there shaking his head because I don't know. Like the numbers say to play him. I don't really ever play. I can't remember the last time.
Wait, what is Leone shaking his head about?
Like, these guys are showing up as good plays according to the Sims, And so
who
for
are
me
these
to say,
guys?
He's talking about Chase Brown, Javonte,
the mid tier here. Yeah, all three of them. I like Javonte. I like Javonte the best of the three. But like Josh Jacobs is a guy I don't normally play, and now I'm a little bit worried about Emmanuel Wilson. It's just like, am I going to play him here? Maybe, probably not. I think there are some ways you can get cheap at receiver that allow you to get up to the expensive guys. So I'm interested in that. And then to me, like David Montgomery, like I'd rather just drop down another $1,000 or so, $1,500, get the direct leverage off of Gibbs. I don't necessarily love Montgomery as a play, but I just think it makes more sense if I'm going to play someone I don't love to get that extra savings and the clear leverage.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. Let's go to Kansas City running back if you want to sort by that, Wiggins. So this is a complicated spot because Kareem Hunt came off 30 carries on Sunday, took a bunch of big hits in that game. Short week here. Pacheco, from what I understand, is actually really healthy coming in to this spot. And so I know we have this different than the market. We actually feel really good about how we have this split set up right now. Other people can be like, what are you talking about? Pacheco's been out and Kareem Hunt's been so good. Again, we have pretty decent info here, and I feel pretty good about how we have this backfield split. As we have it split here, you're not able to play really any of them at projection relative to price. Now, gun to my head, who's the best bet for a touchdown? Kareem Hunt. They love Kareem Hunt around the goal line and in short yardage. So gun to my head, I would play Hunt. I don't know that I'm going to play any of these guys, though, because I think it's going to be very split. Evan, any thoughts on Chiefs backfield?
I think that the main guy is going to be Kareem Hunt. But I understand, you can build a case for Isaiah Pacheco. If he's healthy and it looks like he is, he should have fresh legs. Kareem Hunt coming off like a 30-touch game. But I think that ultimately the Chiefs are not going to have a whole lot of rushing success against Dallas, in large part because of the loss of Trey Smith and because that's the strength of the Cowboys. That's the teeth of the Cowboys defense. So
yeah.
And also I think that Brashard Smith will play a little bit, not to the extent that he's going to be worth anything in fantasy, but enough that he will take away at least some targets from the other guys. And, Kareem Hunt, like, he has zero big play ability. You just need him to fall into the end zone, and now you're taking away carries from him.
Yeah.
It's a situation to avoid as far as I'm concerned.
Agreed. All right. Anything else at running back before we move on to the wide receiver position?
I think Justice Hill's kind of interesting.
Okay.
He's down that.
We need to point out though that he did not practice yesterday with a neck injury.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I
We
was
don't
curious
have the
about
final,
that.
still nothing on the final report from the Ravens here.
Yeah. All right. Well, obviously he needs to be playing, but we have Henry as the most owned running back, and if they do get behind, like Justice Hill would presumably be out there.
Yes, he
quite
would.
a bit more. So it's like,
Well, this brings up a very interesting conversation, because if Justice Hill does not play, all of a sudden Keaton Mitchell becomes mildly intriguing, I believe.
Yeah. Justice Hill has a very specific role. I'm not sure that they think Keaton Mitchell can play in that pass down
I don't
role.
necessarily either, but in a game where the Ravens are at home favored by a touchdown against the worst run defense in the NFL, you give maybe Keaton Mitchell gets a target and a half more in projection because of no Justice Hill, and maybe the Ravens get out to a lead and they, give the ball more to Keaton. Maybe Keaton Mitchell gets 7 carries. Then all of a sudden, like, Keaton Mitchell could break a long one. We know that he can break long ones.
Yes. One of the most explosive runners in the NFL for sure.
probably a good time to note, Levitin, you're going to be in Discord tomorrow, correct?
Yes. For anyone who is an in-season product subscriber, tomorrow morning I will be Thanksgiving morning. Yes, tomorrow I'll do a Q&A, anything related to the slate on Thanksgiving. So anyone who's an in-season subscriber, stay tuned for that. We will have far more injury information at this point. And by the way, if you need your in-season product, now is the time, only time all year to get a sale on our NFL in-season product. Head to establishtheRun.com/Black Friday. All right. Wide receiver position is certainly quite interesting here. Let's just sort by Cincinnati and get this out of the way to start here, Wiggins. No T. Higgins in this game. And actually, let's add tight end here to this conversation also, because as Evan and I talked about yesterday, Mike Gesicki is effectively playing wide receiver for this team. We saw it last year when T. Higgins was out. Mike Gesicki had a huge bump in usage here. Now we get him as a salary saver on DraftKings 3,100, which, okay, yeah, that's great. On FanDuel, 4K opens up an insane amount if you're willing to play Mike Gesicki. Now, he's going to be very popular on FanDuel because he's hitting all the optimals at this price. However, here, Evan, how do you think this shakes out? Who do you prefer between Tinsley and Yoshivas? And what do you think about Gesicki here? All this stemming from T. Higgins being out and Joe Burrow being back.
I loved Mike Gesicki when I wrote this game up. I also was kind of thinking that, so last week, Mike Gesicki played 28 snaps. He ran a route on 26 of his 28 snaps. As we talked about on the Tuesday team by team, Mike Gesicki is a wide receiver when one of the top 2 wide receivers is out, which T. Higgins will be due to a concussion. And we get to play him at tight end. And he's cheap, right?
Very, yes.
Yeah. So I was also thinking that Kyle Hamilton might be out when I wrote the game up on Monday. And it looks like Kyle Hamilton is going to play. And I do think that matters. But I think it matters more that this is a spot where we could see Burrow get up 40 pass attempts. And a lot of them are going to go to Jamar Chase, okay? But I think that Gesicki is the best bet to finish second on the team in targets. I know that Yoshivas did last week, but only by 1 in Gesicki's first game back from like being out for a month and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that Gesicki, he would be my pick to finish second on the Bengals in targets in this game behind Jamar Chase.
And that's how we have it here in projection. I am curious your take, Evan, on Yoshivas versus Tinsley. We have Yoshivas ahead simply because he's going to play more. He's going to run more routes. He's probably a better bet for targets. Mitchell Tinsley, shout out team preseason, did have a 2-touchdown game in the preseason, caught a touchdown last week. Also started at Western Kentucky, I believe, and went to Penn State. So a lot working for me personally on Mitchell Tinsley, team preseason, and shout out Penn State for Mitchell Tinsley. What do you think about that one? Yoshivas versus Mitchell Tinsley.
Yoshivas.
No, don't say it. Don't say it, Silva.
What?
I mean,
what do you think I'm going to say?
I don't know. I was hoping you'd gas up Tinsley because I want to play him.
No, I looked at Tinsley and he's not like an NFL athlete, and Yoshivas like legit is, but he just isn't very much of a receiver.
Yeah. My only take is Yoshivas has had this chance plenty and underperformed it plenty of times. In other words, one of
I
these
know.
guys is out. Chase or T is
Right.
out. And Yoshi has underperformed at plenty. Tinsley is at least like new blood getting a new role. But I agree that Yoshibas is way superior athlete and has had some moments in the NFL already, for sure.
So we got to stick on Tinsley for a second here, because on FanDuel, and this happens with these 3-game slates sometimes, where you have really good plays at the top, like it becomes very stars and scrubs. And Tinsley is only 4.1K, and we only have him projected for 5 FanDuel points.
Mhm.
But he is hovering around some optimal lineups there because it allows you to get in Jamar Chase. And you're just not asking that much of a guy at 4K. We've got him, again, projected for 5 FanDuel points. Like, Silva, I will ask you again, do you think Tinsley can get 5 FanDuel points? Tell me, yes or no?
Yeah.
Now
I
we're
mean,
talking, baby. Now we're
and
talking.
Burrow, you got an MVP caliber quarterback in there who projects for a lot of pass attempts, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know how efficient he's going to be. Again, the rust factor. Also, Tinsley, he's going to play a lot. I mean, he's going to play a lot. He played a lot last week. I think he was at like 70% of the snaps or something like that.
Yeah,
So
I mean they
73%.
didn't have Chase, and then T left early, so they lost
Yeah.
both of those guys.
T left pretty late in the game, though. It was
I guess, what was that, like third quarter?
Yeah, maybe even early fourth.
I think he was in the fourth.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah, so like I do actually think he's slightly in the cash conversation on FanDuel, which is kind of crazy, and it's not because of him; it's because it gets you Jamar Chase.
Right.
Like on DraftKings, he's definitely not in the cash conversation. You're probably only playing him on Burrow teams, or maybe as a bring back on Lamar. But that's another reason why I like Burrow, because you can throw in Mike Gesicki and Tinsley, and like you're off to the races with the rest of your lineup.
Yeah, you save a ton of money there right away. Let's flip it to Dallas wide receiver only right now. Big topic of conversation this week is Pickens versus Lamb. I talked about it yesterday. We do have CeeDee Lamb ahead. Pickens not on the final injury report, but is dealing with some type of knee or calf thing. He banged it up very late in that game, was able to come back in. So I feel pretty good about Pickens' health here. On DraftKings, though, Pickens costs more than Lamb by $100. On FanDuel, Pickens is way cheaper than Lamb. I believe it's a $700 difference there between Lamb and Pickens there. Evan, who do you prefer on this slate, Lamb or Pickens? And what do you think about their spot overall?
CeeDee Lamb for sure. I mean, I am buying hook, line, and sinker. Brian Schottenheimer coming out and saying, when we start drawing up plays for Kansas City, I'll give them a little heads up. There's going to be a lot of them going to 88.
Mm-hmm.
And I buy that. I mean, CeeDee Lamb had a bunch of drops last week. The best thing that the Cowboys can do is to go right back to them. You can beat up on the Chiefs in the slot where they play Shamari Connor, who's like a playmaker, but not necessarily good in coverage. And they just lost their other slot corner when Shamari Connor is playing safety. Chris Roland Wallace has been ruled out with a back injury. So the matchups are really nice on paper for CeeDee Lamb. I think that the intent is going to be there from the Cowboys to get the ball to CeeDee Lamb for a variety of reasons. And also, I mean, I'm not sure that George Pickens is 100% healthy. So, and isn't CeeDee Lamb like way underpriced? I mean,
yeah. So CeeDee Lamb is typically on DraftKings somewhere around the 8K range. In this spot, he's 6,900, partly due to matchup, partly due to Thanksgiving slate pricing dynamics, but also partly because he's underperformed, period. So,
but you also were saying that he has the most expected points of any receiver in the entire league this year.
Yes. On a per game basis. Yes.
Which tends to regress back toward that.
If you're a good player, and CeeDee Lamb is, yes.
Yes. So let's go all in on CeeDee Lamb, I say.
Yeah. So we've covered two of my takes for this slate so far. First one, Lamar breakout spot, ignore all the noise about injuries and everything else. Lamar breakout spot. Second is Lamb outscores Pickens, which I'm not sure the field is going to play it that way. Maybe they will. I don't know. On FanDuel, though, Pickens is going to end up in a lot of cash builds because he's so much cheaper there, Wiggins. So what do you think about handling Dallas wide receiver here?
Yeah, I feel good about the ownership here on FanDuel because of the price cap. I was just messaging Brat and Leone. Shout out, Brat. Good job on the show last night. Leone as well. I think the gap, like everyone wants to play CeeDee Lamb here. It's just so obvious, right?
Yeah.
I think it'll probably be more like 40% CeeDee, 30% Pickens.
Mhm.
I just can't imagine that they're the same. We have CD projected for more for cheaper, and he's got the better pedigree,
Yeah.
and everyone just wants to play him.
Yeah.
So we'll talk more about that. Leone's pushing back. He's like, I don't buy that, but it was Leone's flag pant was CD Lamb. I think he just wants to keep it down for his
He
own
doesn't remember who
purposes
his flag plant was, apparently.
Leone
I
had
mean,
3 glasses of red wine, and he has no recollection of last night whatsoever.
but CD Lamb has to be one of the best plays on the slate, right? At this price tag.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's definitely in the cash conversation on DraftKings, elite tournament play on both sites, particularly on FanDuel, where you know that the ownership gap is going to lean towards Pickens. Like you said, Pickens is kind of more in the cash conversation on FanDuel, but both great plays. I think you'll see a lot of Dak double stacks. That's simming well. So like, I'm a little bit worried that Dak could have more ownership, and that would pull maybe from like Goff and Love and Burrow. But it's tough to say, but good plays across the board there for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Okay. My third hot take for this slate is, maybe it's not that hot, but Jameson Williams bounce back spot. I prefer him to Christian Watson. Now, I know the guys were talking about Christian Watson. I know Evan really likes Christian Watson on this slate. When it gets going for Jameson Williams, I think it gets going better than it does for Christian Watson. So like outlier outcomes for Jameson Williams, I think the high-end outcomes on Jameson are higher than the high-end outcomes for Christian Watson. And I think Christian Watson is fine on this slate, but I prefer JMO here at the same price, even though we do have Christian Watson 1.2 ahead in projection. Christian Watson's projection might change based on who is in and out. Right now we have Golden in, but Jaden Reed out. We're still working on information there. But yeah, Evan, any thoughts on that one? Jameson versus Christian Watson there in the same game.
Man, it's tough for me. I really like them both. It's tough for me to ever say anything negative about Jameson Williams, the most complete receiver in the NFL, the most unselfish receiver in the NFL. And also, I think gets a little bit of a bump from Khalif Raymond being out, just maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually think that Isaac Tesla also gets a little bit of a bump from Khalif Raymond being out, if you want to really get nuts. But I am obsessed with Christian Watson here. The Lions give up a lot of big plays in the passing game. Whether or not they got their starters in there, which I do think that they'll have Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed in there, definitely DJ Reed. But they've given up the 5th most receptions of 20-plus yards on the season. I think Christian Watson, he's playing like 80% of the snaps week after week at this point. They have to, because the other guys just haven't performed. Matthew Golden has been a non-factor. Savion Williams probably not even going to play. Dontavian Wicks is banged up and doesn't do anything. I think Christian Watson is the play at wide receiver on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And I mean, he's 4,700. He's going to show up in a lot of cash stuff.
I also think he's got as much ceiling as Jameson Williams does, and a higher floor, actually, than Jameson Williams. So Christian Watson.
Yeah.
And they're priced right next to each other too. So it makes
sense. I mean, getting that price range right at receiver is probably the most important thing on this slate. It's tough.
We have Worthy 4,500, Dobbs 4,600, Christian Watson 4,700, and Jameson Williams 4,800. Yeah, Christian Watson I think is, to me, better on FanDuel, where it's more touchdown heavy, and like it's hard for me to see like a 7 or 8 catch game from Christian Watson. I can see it from Jameson Williams, like getting that kind of volume. So that's where I'm at there. But yeah, Wiggins, sounds like you prefer C. Watson also to Jameson.
I don't really have a strong lean. I wish I did. I think it's really, really close.
The other guy in that range that we can talk about is Xavier Worthy. I think Xavier Worthy is legit hurt. Now, maybe that doesn't matter because he's been running wide open a few times and Mahomes just hasn't hit him. But to me, Xavier Worthy, the splits when Rice is on the field are so bad for Worthy, and I think he's kind of hurt. So I don't love it, but he's very, very cheap here, man. And like he's still playing a ton. He's still earning targets at a reasonable rate. So Evan, what do you think is going on with Xavier Worthy here? How do you like him compared to the Watson and JMO types?
I'm with you on your analysis that he's not 100%. He had the shoulder injury earlier in the season too. I don't know that he's necessarily that can be a thing that lingers all year. and the dude weighs like 150 pounds. They are playing it indoors, so he's not going to blow away in this game, at least. But I mean, it hasn't been working at all. Last 5 games, last 5 games since Rashee Rice's activation from suspension, Xavier Worthy averaging 3.6 catches for 39 yards. Like it's not happening. And I think he is useful to the team as a guy who will run clear out stuff, but we don't want that in fantasy. We want guys who actually get the football.
Breaking news into the show. Jaden Reed is out. Josh Jacobs has no designation. He will play. Matthew Golden is questionable. So there. Oh, and Savion Williams is out as well. So there is your Packers injury status. The Matthew Golden thing, I think, matters a little bit for Christian Watson, but not a ton.
I don't think so.
Not a ton.
We already had Reed out.
I think that it matters maybe a little bit more for Dontavian Wicks.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
I think that there's a clear 1-2 with Romeo Doubs and Christian Watson, and then other guys are fighting for scraps.
Agreed. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. Other guys here on my sheet that we didn't talk about yet, Zay Flowers. If you think Lamar can get right, Zay Flowers is priced reasonably. I don't think it's any type of like steal, but I do think part of Lamar's stuff, Flowers, makes sense. Everybody's going to play Lamar with Mark Andrews or Isaiah Likely because of the tight end narrative. I like kind of flipping it there, and not narrative, like it's true. Like the Bengals are awful against tight ends. I like flipping it and playing it with Flowers there. And we haven't talked about Amon-Ra St. Brown yet either. I guess at the top here, Wiggins, you have a preference between Chase and Amon-Ra. We have them 0.3 apart in projection. Amon-Ra is $200 cheaper.
Yeah, Chase pretty easily for me.
Evan, what do you think there? Chase or Amon-Ra straight up as the best receiver on this slate?
Chase, I think you have to play Jamar Chase.
Okay. And that's not to say like bad things about Amon-Ra whatsoever. I think with T. Higgins out makes it Chase for me. You know what I mean? Like if T was in, it'd be a different conversation.
Getting too caught up on things like this can be detrimental. But Amon-Ra St. Brown has had 3 straight. All right, so Jeff Hafley took over as the Packers defensive coordinator last year. There's a 3-game sample of Amon-Ra going up against the Packers since Jeff Hafley became defensive coordinator. All 3 of the games were disappointing for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And on the season, the Packers have done a really good job against slot receivers. So, we're putting a microscope on these games. It's a 3-game slate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that like means a lot to me here. It may not mean a whole lot to the outcome, to be perfectly honest. But when I'm trying to make decisions, I'm trying to make them based on certain data points, and we at least have a little bit of data that suggests that Amon-Ra St. Brown, could be limited in this game from a production standpoint.
I haven't seen a Lions injury report yet, but Khalif Raymond might miss this game. Even with Khalif Raymond
I think he's not playing.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, even with Raymond playing last week, Tesla still played 36 snaps in that game. We have Raymond projected out right now, as you see there. So yeah, I would throw Tesla into the mix as like a 1 to 3% guy that you can.
I think he's real interesting. I mean, they've showed a willingness to take shots at him in the end zone.
Yeah,
and also the other thing that you can keep in mind here is this is the first game, so like if he goose eggs, fine. Like you got to do some things differently. But if he hits, then you have some really good information for the rest of the slate. As far as like you can play some pretty chalky stuff if you get like 12 points out of a 3K Tesla.
Yep. All right, that was about it for me at wide receiver. Any other wide receivers you guys want to mention before we move on?
I'll just say, like on sheer athleticism, Isaac Tesla might be like the most athletic receiver in the entire NFL.
Yeah.
In just straight athleticism.
He's made some insane catches, preseason and regular season, like insane catches down the field. All right. So there's no McBride on this slate. There is no Brock Bowers on this slate. Travis Kelce is pretty clearly the highest projected tight end. And, I was surprised, man. Like, I was just wrong. I thought Kelce would be dead or deader with Rashee Rice coming back. Kelce's been very good with Rashee Rice back here. So, Evan, what do you think about this spot for Kelce as the most expensive, I guess second most expensive on DraftKings, tight end here against Dallas?
My brother Luke, who usually watches all the shows, is now calling me. So that means he's not watching the show. So that's very disappointing. What was the question?
What do you think about Kelsey here? Kelsey's spot at Dallas.
Good. Very good. I think that at this point with Xavier Worthy running the clear out routes, like the offense just funnels through Rashee Rice and Travis Kelsey clearly. I think that Patrick Mahomes with no Trey Smith is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. And that could lead to a lot of targets for Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey has been, since Rashee Rice came back, and you and I both doubted Travis Kelsey. Travis Kelsey's been the number 2 overall fantasy tight end behind only Trey McBride.
Yeah. I like Kelsey here, and I think on DraftKings, he's not going to get played that much. We have 29% for a 3-game slate, because it's hard to fit Kelsey on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Kelsey is more part of the optimals there. And as I said, like a lot of optimals are going to have Mahomes doubles on FanDuel. So I actually like this spot for Kelsey. Like Evan said, like I'm not trying to hold on to where I was wrong. I was wrong that Rashee Rice would affect Kelsey in an outsized way. Wiggins, what do you think about handling top of tight end here?
Yeah, I mean Kelsey, like if you just assume you're playing Kaseki, which I think you are at 4K, then you're comparing Kelsey against like Watson, Worthy, Dobb, like all the guys we just talked about at receiver. And I think at least from a cash perspective, like Kelsey's safer. So I prefer him as a play. I would probably be flexing him in FanDuel cash. Like as far as his ownership in tournaments, it's a little bit troublesome, but particularly because like I already talked about, I think people are going to play a lot of Mahomes and like there's just clear ways to go. So I would probably be trying to go elsewhere in tournaments, but cash, I think he's a really good play.
Yep, agreed. Okay. The Ravens situation here, Evan, is the one that everybody's talking about. It seems like a no-brainer. Like the narrative has lost containment. Even casual NFL fans are now aware that the Bengals are among the worst teams in the NFL for 2-3 years running against tight ends. So that scares me a little bit, but I can't deny it's an awesome spot for Andrews and Likely. Evan, what do you think about those guys here against Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, Mark Andrews, though, he's averaging 4 targets per
Right.
game over his last 7 games. So he has to score a touchdown. Of course, the Bengals have given up 13 touchdowns to tight ends. The next closest in the league has given up 7. So I do think that Mark Andrews is a pretty good bet for a touchdown. But, I mean, he has no yardage upside. God, I'm kind of intrigued by Isaiah Likely. And I know that he really has done nothing all year. But he plays a lot of snaps. He plays like 55% of the snaps. There are games where he'll play more than Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
And we know that he has big playability. So, and at 2,600, I think that he's like a really, really nice sleeper.
Yeah.
On the 3-game slate.
So you need to save money, and the narrative is so far out there. We actually have Isaiah Likely for 20% owned, which isn't like outrageous on a 3-game slate. But because he's so cheap and he's facing Cincinnati, you're not going to sneak Isaiah Likely past anyone here. I do think he's very much in play.
Is Bateman playing or not? I'll be honest. I just haven't been following the Ravens all that closely.
Bateman is playing.
Yeah.
We think he's playing.
Well, I was going to say, but does him playing, how does that impact Likely, if at all?
I think it impacts like DeAndre Hopkins more.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, because Bateman's been out, 2 weeks, and it's not like it sparked Likely or anything like that. I think that Likely just is like an open field tight end, and the Ravens have not been throwing for barely any yards at all. So Likely has not done anything. Really. I mean, if you look at Lamar Jackson's box scores for the last 5, like I think the most he's thrown for is like 204 yards in a game over his last 5 games. If we can get him up to 275 or 300, then maybe, Likely could really get sparked. Yeah.
And it's just you got that matchup too, with the Bengals. It's like,
and by the way, we shouldn't be double counting, right? We have the Bengals defense bump in. Like all of our stuff is calibrated to the matchup that they are facing. And so,
I mean, like you say that, but then like Hunter Henry's a decent play last week, and then he goes for 30 DraftKings points,
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's okay to double count a little bit in that spot.
Okay. Only other tight end on my list was Ferguson. I don't think anyone is going to play him. We have 4% on Jake Ferguson here. The volume has not been there as much, but he continues to score touchdowns at a reasonable rate. He's just expensive, really on both sites. 6,200 more than Kelsey on FanDuel and 5,100 more than Kelsey on DraftKings. So you're going to get rewarded here if Ferguson goes off. Evan, any optimism that Ferguson like outscores Kelsey here in this game at way less ownership?
I mean, he does have 5 or more catches in 5 straight games, Jake Ferguson. So he's a big part of the offense between the 20s. He's also second among tight ends in red zone targets. He's got 18 red zone targets on the year now. Some of that was, induced by CeeDee Lamb being out and being banged up. But I think Ferguson is an excellent play. I think that he's I think he's the number 2 tight end play probably on the slate, regardless of salary behind Kelsey.
Yeah, we have Andrews for a few more points than Ferguson, but a lot of that is through touchdowns.
Ferguson's got a bunch of touchdowns too.
Absolutely. So last guy on my list here was Evan's boy Brock Wright, who ran a 5.8 40 or something like that. However,
he actually ran a decent 40. He just looks like he ran a 5.8 40.
Okay. With Sam Laporta out, Brock Wright is going to play a ton. He certainly won't be featured like Sam Laporta was. So this is 2,800. He'd have to outscore guys like Likely, I think, for it to make sense. But yeah, Evan, any hope for Brock Wright here on a 3-game slate?
I don't think that he's going to play in the game.
Oh, is he? Okay.
He was DNP on Monday and Tuesday. It sucks that we don't have the final out for the Lions.
Yeah.
But yeah, neck injury, missed on Monday and Tuesday. So yeah, I don't know if he's going to play in the game.
Okay. After this, we're going to have way more information about this, and please join the Q&A. We'll have.
And next up at tight end is Ross Dwelly and Anthony Ferkser, who's on the practice squad right now. So
yeah, I thought Brock Wright was fine because he played through it. He landed, he got flipped over while he had the ball and landed on his neck, but then finished the whole game. So I don't know.
Well, maybe he'll bounce back and practice today and be fine. But I when you don't practice on the first 2 days, that's usually not a good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we forgot to talk about Rashee Rice. That was my fault. Let's just go back to wide receiver for 1 second. That is an important one to talk about. Rashee Rice against Dallas here. Expensive. And so he's going to, I think that, we have this all pretty close. I don't know, Wiggins. What do you think about Rice versus Chase, Amon-Ra, Lamb at the top, and Pickens? I think people want to play Rice, maybe the least of those, but I don't know.
Well, but then you have to keep in mind that Mahomes is the cash quarterback, right? So I think that'll pull him along. I think all the ownership here is pretty good, except for maybe the Lamb pick and split, but Leone's pushing back on that. And so, I trust his judgment there. The way I'd rank them is Jamar is my favorite. Lamb is my second favorite. Rice would probably be my third favorite, I think.
Okay.
And then Amon-Ra fourth, maybe. All price adjusted, of course.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Evan, any thoughts on Rashee Rice's spot here against Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think he's going to crush. I love Rashee Rice every single week.
Yeah. Him getting 10 short targets in this game is likely, I would say.
We're not worried about
Ed in scoring position.
He got a little banged up at the end of that last game. We're not too worried about that.
Yeah, it seemed fine. To me, but yeah. They did not list Rashee Rice on the final injury report. Their final report is
okay.
out.
Yeah, I think he's fine.
Yeah, I did mention Flowers. Follow Bob. I did. Okay. Let's go to defense. It's crazy. It's a good offensive slate when there's no defense that sticks out as man, I really want to play this. Because usually on Thanksgiving slate, there's one that's yeah, I got to play this defense. This is the best defense. Ravens is going to come in as the best because we're projecting a ton of Joe Burrow dropbacks here. They're a dog. You get the Ravens playing good defense against a pretty bad Bengals offensive line. I wouldn't call it a priority, though, for me to play them, Wiggins. I would be okay playing most of these. There's going to be so much volatility and variance among them. So, yes, I agree Ravens is the best, but I don't think I'm going to be going out of my way to get it. Wiggins, how do you see defense this week?
It seems like the Cowboys are going to be the cash play on both sides. And it's not because they're a great player or anything. It's just when you get down to the really cheap range, they're the best of the bunch there. I think they're fine. Yeah, I don't have a like strong lean for any of these. There's not one that sticks out, and like you see the ownership across the board, it's pretty flat. The Lions coming in at 6%. Like, it's nice just to know that you have the least owned defense, but they're expensive.
Yeah. Cowboys, like Evan discussed, no Trey Smith, and Cowboys pass rush has been getting, and defense as a whole has been getting much better. I don't typically like to play defenses against Mahomes, but I think it's a decent spot for it.
And no Trey Smith.
Yep, no Trey Smith. And you play Detroit. Also, we actually have Detroit for more points than the Cowboys here. Oh, I'm sorry. Detroit is way more expensive. Yeah, more expensive than the Ravens. So yeah, that would be like a pay up to be contrarian type thing on the Lions. So nothing really sticks out to me at defense, which sucks because I usually like to have like a contrarian defense for this slate. I'm just going to try to mix some of these through.
I'll just throw out one other thing too. Like, when there's only 6 defenses, they're probably all going to do pretty poorly. And so I think that brings the cheapest one more into play. Like, no one's going to want to play the Bengals, but there's a savings there. And Lamar, I think actually, like, one of the games against the Browns. So like, of course he's getting sacked a lot, but just with the decreased mobility, he's been taking some more sacks. Like, I think the Bengals are okay. I wouldn't be thrilled about it, but
it sucks. No Trey Hendrickson again, but yeah.
If you want to get nuts, let's get nuts play is you play Kevontae Turpin and the Cowboys defense.
Double dip.
Oh, double dip, baby. And I can't believe it actually finally hit a couple weeks ago. God, so it's just, there's nothing better in life
every week.
Double dip
on Austin back in the day, right?
Yeah. Those are the days.
Or every show, not every day.
And I think Levitan, you had it too that day, right? With Parker Washington. I mean,
yeah.
Oh, what a pure day that was.
Parker Washington and Jaguars defense. Yeah.
That one.
But to expand on this thought, Kevontae Turpin is an explosive player. Sometimes they give him carries in the running game. He missed practice early in the week, but he's good to go. He's actually off the injury report. He returns kickoffs and punts for the Cowboys. If he brings one back, which, I mean, what's the probability of that?
Very low.
I got a D in stats and probability. So I don't really know, but
listen, he's fast.
But you get points for he's fast. You get points for the return touchdown from Kevontae Turpin and also from the Cowboys defense. So you get the double dip.
Looks like somewhere between 1% and 2% of the time is the average rate of kickoff return touchdowns in the NFL, somewhere between 1% and 2%.
Well, what's your probability of winning a GPP?
Well, depends how many people are in it, but way lower.
Way lower. So actually, it's better probability that Kevontae Turpin does this. I
mean, this is a simple math.
Last thing I'll say on defense is a lot of this is going to come down to, like, if there's a defensive touchdown scored, you're going to need that defense. And so that is like the argument for mixing a lot of defenses through if you're playing a bunch of lineups. Like, I don't think any of them are going to separate on this slate. The only way they will separate is if you get a defensive touchdown. And obviously that's super, super unpredictable. So, okay. We don't do flag plants on ETS. However, we're not doing last minute live stream, Evan. So the people are asking for a pull-up play. Normally we do a pull-up play on the last minute live stream Sunday mornings. Evan and I, right before the slate, we are on there. If you have in-season product, take advantage of the sale, of course. But yeah, do you have a pull-up play for the Thanksgiving slate, Evan?
Where are we projecting Christian Watson's ownership?
I wouldn't worry about ownership. I think on a 3-game slate, you just you plant whoever you want.
We're playing the best plays here.
Evan is going to go with Christian Watson. Wiggins, do you have a pull-up play for the people?
Give yours. Give me a second here to think about it.
I'll give two. Dan Campbell loves Jameson Williams. He's not going to let him airball twice. He's just not. I'm going back to the well on Jameson Williams. And the other pull-up take that I have is Lamar ends up as easily the highest scoring quarterback on the slate. Lamar Jackson.
Love it.
Highest scoring quarterback on the slate.
Does he drag Isaiah Likely with him?
I hope he does it with his legs, man. I want to see him run again. It sucks. Like, I hate watching the Ravens and not seeing Lamar doing crazy things running, but yeah, I hope he's okay. Wiggins?
All right, I'm going to go Burrow is the quarterback you need tomorrow.
Nicholas says Wiggins wants to go Tinsley so bad.
Yeah, this is the backdoor way of going Tinsley.
The backdoor way.
All right, Silva, you got any bets? I have a cool thing I'm going to toss out, but first, do you have anything, Silva?
I mean, I got a lot for Sunday, but
yeah, we're not save it.
We're not doing that. All right, I'll save it. I do have. I mean, I like the Lions. I like the Lions. I think that the Packers just are not going to be able to score with them.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Shout out to Sam W., absolute wizard behind the scenes, pulling all the levers to get the projections where they are. He did some analysis about his theory being home teams on holidays. There's more that they have to do. They have to deal with family stuff. They have to get tickets, etc. So he was looking at home teams against the spread on Thanksgiving and Christmas. We have a sample size of about 72 games, and the home team is 40% against the spread. So it appears that all the extra burdens of being at home on the holidays makes them play worse. That's real data.
I mean,
right there.
It makes sense. You hear players talk about, like, oh man, I had to get, 50 tickets for my family. And then, 15 more guys came in, and like, they have to worry about like getting tickets for family members rather than being locked in and focused on the game itself. You hear players talking about that. Like, that's actually definitely a real thing. Now we have some evidence that, and it goes beyond just buying tickets for family members, but it can be other things. It's so interesting to me because on Thursdays, historically, regular Thursday games, home teams have a clear-cut advantage, but this is not a regular Thursday game on Thanksgiving. It's different.
No, it's an American holiday, which we are all thrilled to be a part of. If you want to listen to myself, Wiggins, and Silva talk about the main slate in this same fashion, you need NFL in-season product. We do that show Friday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then Silva and I back on Sunday morning, last-minute live stream. If you have in-season product, Wiggins is also on 2 shows Sunday morning as well. Plus, of course, you get access to all of our projections for every player in every game. So check out the sale if you have not already.
On Friday night show, I'll actually be releasing my play of the year side bet this year. So
5,000 gold star lock.
Yeah,
yes,
it's an absolute lock. It's my play of the year. I mean, I only give it out one time per year. So
that'll pay for the subscription.
5,000 gold star lock coming on Friday. All right, this was fun. Genuine happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And I know I said it on Tuesday. I'll say it again. The stuff that we are doing is not automated, where this is not bots. This is not supercomputer doing most of the work that we were doing. It is actual people working on Thanksgiving, working on Christmas, working on the weekend, working at night. And so really thankful for all of them, everybody behind the scenes at ETR, and appreciate everyone who listens to the shows or subscribes as well. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving. For Wiggins, for Silva, for everyone at ETR, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.